Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to walk you through iProperties and changing materials. One thing I want to point out to you is, we're going to get into questions about density and mass and volume, surface area, stuff like that will come up in the IED curriculum. This is Unit 5 that we're kind of talking about. And while maybe you have a shape like this that's 1 inch by 0.5 inches by 2 inches, it's a rectangular prism. The math for this is really, really simple. So if I asked you to solve, or a student really to solve for the volume, or if I gave them a particular material with a density, they could figure out how much the object weighed. The math is really simple when you have simple geometric shapes. That's great. But what if we have a part that looks like this? What in the heck do we do for this? I do not know a formula, nor will I be able to find a formula sheet that tells me quickly and easily the volume, the mass, maybe the density, the weight, whatever it's going to be. What are we looking for? For complex shapes, we want to use something called iProperties in order to solve for it. So there's a couple of different ways to get to it. I think the easiest way is for me to go and actually go to File and come down here and go to iProperties. There are other ways to get to it. You'll find different shortcuts, but this is the way that I teach my students to do it. If we go to iProperties and we open it up, then we can go to what's called the Physical tab. Okay, the Physical tab will have all sorts of physical properties for the object. So right now you can see that I have a part. It's made out of a generic material that has a density of 1 gram per cubic centimeter. And given that, I can figure out things like the mass, the area, and the volume. The area really refers to surface area. The volume is obviously the volume. It'll even tell me what the center of gravity is, which come in later. Okay, if I come down here and I click Update, it will tell me that based on this generic material that I'm using, this is what the mass would be. It would be 4.7 pounds of mass. It would have a surface area of 270.54 square inches. It would have a volume of 130.566 cubic inches. Now, your students will be asked to convert to different things, like what is it in cubic centimeters or something like that. So they will have to know how to do unit conversions, but man, you talk about a blessing when it comes to calculating surface area, volume, things like that. That's a huge deal. Notice I am able to change the material here. If I want to change it, and let's say that it's made out of, say, ABS plastic, I can come up here and change it to ABS plastic, which is what my 3D printer uses, and everything updates. Conveniently, this is now exactly 5 pounds of mass. The density has changed. It's 1.06 grams per cubic centimeter now. Notice the surface area doesn't change. That's because the type of material doesn't change how much surface is actually showing, how much external surface do we have, and the volume didn't change. It's the mass changes and the density changes based on the material. So that's one way to go about it. I can click Apply here. You see that it looks differently now because I am using a different material. If you look closely, if you had eagle eyes, you may have noticed that up here in the corner, up here at the top bar, these changed as well when I changed it to ABS plastic. So let me explain something real quick. You have two drop-down menus. The two drop-down menus, the left menu actually changes the material. So if I wanted to change this to ABS plastic or any other material, I can use the left drop-down box to actually change the material. I want this to be made out of gold instead. There are two different libraries that you can choose from. There's the Inventor Library, and there is the Autodesk Library. The Autodesk Library is actually larger. It contains all Autodesk materials. So for instance, if you have Revit loaded on your computer, it'll pull in all the materials that are available in Revit and every single other program that Autodesk makes. The Inventor Material Library is specific to Inventor stuff. So if you want more materials to be available, you can click on the Autodesk Library, click on the drop box again, and you'll notice there's even more options available if you want that. Okay. Let's change it to brass instead. There's your brass part now. On the right menu, this is an appearance menu. So all you're doing here is changing how the document appears. You're not actually changing the material. So for instance, if I wanted to make it out of ABS plastic, but for some reason I wanted to make it look like something else. I want to make it look like nickel. I want you to notice that it's still made out of ABS plastic. It just has the appearance of nickel. So what we're doing here, in other words, is when you go and you work in iProperties, we want to either adjust through the left menu here. I'm going to make this look like aluminum now. It still appears to be nickel. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my filter. I'm going to clear off the filter. I'm going to choose Select All. going to click the check mark. Now it's back to an aluminum part with the default setting of looking like a satin finish. I can go through and I can do things like adjust the color. I'm going to highlight the entire shape and say, you know what, I really want this to be a red part with a satin finish, but now it's a red aluminum part that's been painted. So we can do that as well. But I'm really getting kind of beyond things because really the main thing is I want you to understand that I can come over here to iProperties, the physical tab. If I need to click update first, but now it's an aluminum part that has this specific density. There's the mass of the part, it's 12 pounds, it's pretty heavy. Here's the surface area and volume, which are unchanging because it doesn't matter what it's made out of, the surface area and the volume are the same. Hopefully that helps. That's a little bit about iProperties and materials. You're going to use that quite a bit as you get into Unit 5 and do some stuff with that. You're also going to use it for our OCT assignment this week. If you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to ask.